Okay, now we're gonna start with some of the polygon tools found under the pull down menu Edit Mesh. So I'm gonna show you some techniques on how to use some of these tools. I'm gonna get started with a cylinder. So I can go to the shelf and click on the cylinder and create it on the grid. Click 5 for shaded mode. And again, this is a polygon primitive. So we have some information about this primitive over here to the channel box under the inputs. So I have radius. We can change the height. I can change the subdivisions along the axis, and I can change the subdivisions along the height. If I wanted to start extruding part of the cylinder to create the base of a desk chair, I would have to calculate how many legs the chair has. So if, let's say, we want to pull out 5 legs out of this cylinder, then I would have to calculate to extrude every other face along this surface. So in this case, I'll make 10 subdivisions. Let's also create a height, like a shorter object, so we can use it as a base mesh to extrude. And also let me snap it on the grid over here. Let me put it on the middle here of the grid system, so I can start my modeling right from the beginning of the origin. I have to use the snap to grid, and notice that my universal move gizmo turns into a circle, and I go to the destination point, hold down the middle mouse button and draw around that area, and it will snap. Then I have to remember to click this off, the magnet tool. So let me approach this object. I can click F to go just frame it. And I will also turn on, from here, from the viewport, I will turn on the wireframe on shaded. In this case, I'm going to go to my component mode, choose the face mode, and start selecting, holding down the shift key, and click every other face. If I want to, so every other face is selected. Now I'm going to use the extrude tool. So this is the first tool we're going to be using, extrude. So click extrude, and I have the extrude gizmo manipulation handle, which looks like a universal handle. It has a scale, rotation, and move, and a switch that switches from toggles between local and translation and global. So I'm going to pull on the Z. Usually when you extrude, you pull on the Z. Notice that I have some settings here that it gives me a lot of divisions. If that happens, then we can change it while the command is running from the channel box. Now we see that as I'm pulling out and as I'm extruding, I get all these divisions that I don't really need. I'm going to go ahead and click on go to find the divisions from the channel box and reduce them to 0. Only one is a division. That's the least we can have. So pull out, and then I want to pull down so I can have an angle, but this doesn't seem to be right. So I'm going to undo that. So the local doesn't work for the Y, pulling down all these faces. But if I go and switch to the global and start pulling up or down, it will allow me to pull down all these faces. I can switch back to local. Notice that I'm still running the command, and I can actually manipulate more this topology. So if I want to pull it back down, I have to undo that. Go back to global, and I'm switching between global and local until I get my final result. I can also use my click on this rotation handle, and the rotations are going to appear, and I can just start rotating. So notice that in this situation we get like a local rotation. That means it's not really working. So we might have to rotate these handles. Even if you go to the global mode, it won't really do anything. It will only rotate them according to the global position here. So I will undo that. So rotating this particular shape is not a good idea. We have to go to each one of them and rotate them manually later on. So until now, until this point, we've managed to get that object, that base for the chair done. So now I'm done. I can just go back to object mode. So I'm done with this. Now I just want to start extruding other areas on the chair. I'm going to select it and select all these upper faces and go to my edit mesh. This time I'm going to go to my options. If you notice, like a minute ago when I extruded, I had a lot of divisions. That's because in the options of the extrude face command, I have 12 divisions. I can change that. First of all, the best thing to do is to reset it. Reset settings, and I can actually put as many as I want. So this is good enough to start. It's one division. So apply. And I actually want to scale this. But the problem is I see that I'm having all the scale tools except the universal one, which is in the middle here. It should be in the middle, but you don't see it. This is not a problem. You have to just click any of these. Click on one of these boxes and the center box too. Sorry. Let's extrude again. Turn on the scale tool. Just move this up just a little bit. Extrude one more time. So I'll keep extruding. So you can see that how that tool works. I'm going to go right click object mode. Face 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to select all the faces over here. Make sure you're not selecting any other face. You can also click 4 to make sure that you're only selecting the ones you want. And let's extrude that part. Again, click on the scale tool, scale it in, extrude one more time, scale it inwards. So I'm creating this inside pipe. I can start selecting these faces over here. You can always undo if you select, like say you select this by accident, just undo and keep selecting the ones you want. Notice that this is a loop. It's called a loop. I could easily, instead of trying to select all these faces one by one, I could just go to face mode, select one of the faces, hold down the shift key, and double click on the next one. It will select the whole loop. And why didn't I do it here? Well, here it's a different type of geometry. This is a triangle. So if I select a triangle and double click on the next one, it won't do anything. Triangles are not stable. It's not a stable geometry. So the problem with triangle is that we have to convert it into a quad. In this case, I'm not doing it yet. I want to finish the piece first, and then I'm going to start correcting this area here. But down at the bottom of this object, all these faces are quads. So if I select one of them and then hold down the shift key and select the one next to it, so I'm going to select the whole loop. Let's extrude one more time and then we're going to start using other tools. So extrude, pull down on the Z, let's scale it too, scale these faces. I can go to switch to my global mode and get the scale. So I can taper this out, or in whatever. Just showing you the possibilities with using this extrude gizmo. And always when you're done, object mode, click outside of the object, select it, and now it's in object mode. Notice we have some history here. So we have all the history. We can actually go and back to a previous command and change settings if we need to. So this is the base for the chair. In the next lesson I'm going to start working on other parts, and that way we can investigate more of the tools under the Edit Mesh menu.